Maximum security, no way out. Until now, buried deep in the remote wilderness of the Nevada desert stood Iron Ridge Penitentiary, a fortress of steel and concrete, surrounded by 20-foot walls topped with razor wire, guard towers with snipers on every corner, and the latest in motion sensors and surveillance technology. The prison was infamous, designed to house the most dangerous and unpredictable criminals in America. No one had ever escaped. No one had even come close. Until inmates whispered his name in fear. Guards hated him. The world barely knew he existed. But behind those thick prison walls, Damian Cray was quietly becoming a legend. Damian wasn't just a criminal. He was a ghost in the system, a man with no digital footprint, no confirmed identity, and no known relatives. Arrested after a 5-state killing spree that left 12 people dead, including 2 police officers, his crimes were brutal, but calculated. He never left a trace, never made mistakes. He operated with the cold logic of a machine and the cruelty of someone who understood how to break the human mind before breaking the body. The FBI called him a psychopath. The prison staff called him a monster. But perhaps the most dangerous part of Damian wasn't his strength or his violence. It was his mind. He could read people like books, twist their emotions like wires, and manipulate anyone into doing what he wanted. Even from inside his isolated high-security cell, he managed to stir chaos, organizing fights, planting ideas in other inmates' heads, and even blackmailing guards. No one knew how he did it. No one could prove it. But everyone felt his reach. Damian never raised his voice. He never lost his temper. He observed, he learned, and he waited. For months, he kept his head down, played by the rules, made the guards believe he was adjusting. But behind his hollow eyes was a plan, precise, dangerous, and impossible to imagine. Iron Ridge wasn't just a prison to Damian. It was a puzzle, a locked system. And every puzzle has a solution. What the prison didn't know was that the man they believed they had contained was silently mapping out every weakness, every shift rotation, every blind spot in the camera system. With nothing but time, a sharp mind, and the patience of a predator, Damian Cray was planning something that hadn't happened in over 30 years at Iron Ridge. Escape. And it wouldn't be through trickery or disguise. It would be through the wall in... Every wall has a weak spot, Damian. Just had to find it. For most prisoners, the crushing routine of Iron Ridge Penitentiary was a sentence in itself. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, repeat. But for Damian Cray, routine wasn't punishment. It was opportunity. From the moment he arrived, Damian watched. He studied. Every guard's name, every step they took, every second they lingered in a blind spot. He memorized it all. The prison's heartbeat became familiar. When lights went out, when cell checks happened, when the cameras rebooted. Within weeks, he had mentally mapped out the prison better than the men who built it. He noticed one thing first. Block C's western wall had been patched decades ago after a minor structural issue. To the untrained eye, it looked solid. But to Damian, it was the chink in the armor. The concrete there was older, slightly more brittle, and poorly reinforced. It was the perfect place to break through, if he could find a way to do it. Undetected, Damian's next step was acquiring tools, not by stealing, but by manipulating. He began forming quiet alliances with inmates who worked in the prison's metal and wood shops. He never asked for full tools, just pieces. A sharpened metal file hidden in a shoe sole, a flattened chisel disguised as part of a bed frame, bits of wiring, sandpaper. Over time, these scraps became a carefully hidden arsenal, but tools alone wouldn't get him out. He needed timing, cover, and silence. So he turned to the guards. One in particular, Officer Lennox, was vulnerable, mounting debt, a drinking problem, and a desperate need for cash. Damian saw it immediately. Through subtle conversation and psychological manipulation, he offered Lennox what he wanted most: money and secrecy. All Lennox had to do was miss a camera feed once in a while, or look the other way during patrol. No violence, no threats, just quiet understanding. and it worked. Every night for nearly 2 months, Damien worked for 30 to 40 minutes while others slept. He muffled the sound of scraping with torn bedsheets soaked in water. Slowly, painfully, he chiseled at the weakened wall, 1 inch at a time. The debris was flushed during showers or hidden inside hollowed-out books and mattress seams. It was a methodical, maddeningly slow process, but Damien never rushed. Then one stormy night, thunder masking any sound, he broke through, a hole just big enough for his lean body. On the other side, an old maintenance tunnel, long abandoned and forgotten, buried behind the exterior wall. It wasn't on any modern prison blueprints, but Damien had overheard a retired guard mention it during a therapy group months earlier. It was the final piece of the puzzle. Wearing a guard's uniform he had pieced together from stolen items and stitched in secret, Damien crawled through the tunnel, emerged beyond the outer wall, and vanished into the darkness, leaving nothing but an empty cell and a hole in the world's most secure prison. The devil is gone, and now everyone's running to catch him. When the morning head count began at Iron Ridge Penitentiary, everything seemed normal, until the guard at cell C-14 called for backup. The door was locked, the cell was empty, and Damien Cray was gone. Alarms screamed through the cold concrete corridors. Red lights flashed as lockdown procedures activated, steel doors slamming shut one by one. Chaos erupted. Guards shouted, inmates cheered or stared in disbelief. No one could comprehend it. Iron Ridge had been breached. Within minutes, the prison's warden, Charles Mercer, arrived on site. He was pale, furious, and stunned. "It's not possible," he kept saying. "No one gets out of Iron Ridge." But Damien Cray had done just that, and left behind a gaping hole in the wall, a trail of carefully hidden tools, and an embarrassed institution on the edge of collapse. The escape was the biggest security failure in the prison's 47-year history. Within hours, FBI agents flooded Iron Ridge, inspecting every inch of the facility. News vans began circling like vultures outside the gates. The media frenzy ignited headlines across the country. America's most dangerous prisoner escapes. Iron Ridge nightmare. Is Damien Cray on the loose? Manhunt begins for mastermind killer. The manhunt was immediate, massive, and relentless. Roadblocks were set up across Nevada and neighboring states. Airports were put on high alert. Surveillance footage from nearby towns was scoured. The FBI released an aged-up composite sketch of what Damien might look like with longer hair, a beard, or different clothes. But they found nothing. No trace, no fingerprints, no sightings that held up. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The public panic grew. Citizens were warned to stay indoors at night, especially in rural areas. Tips flooded hotlines, most of them false. Every shadow became a potential threat, every silent house a possible hideout. The name Damien Cray became synonymous with fear. Back at Iron Ridge, heads began to roll. Officer Lennox, after hours of interrogation, finally broke. He confessed to turning a blind eye for months, believing Damien only wanted better treatment, not a breakout. He was arrested on the spot. Warden Mercer was forced to resign. A new team took over, and the prison underwent emergency reinforcement. But it was too late. The damage was done. Iron Ridge's reputation was shattered, and Damien Cray was free. But where did he go? That question haunted authorities for weeks, months, even years. Some believed he had fled to Mexico or Canada. Others thought he was hiding in the wilderness, using survival skills he learned before prison. A darker theory suggested he had been planning something far bigger, and that the escape was only the beginning. The final scene unfolds quietly. A long, empty highway cuts through the desert under the glow of the moon. A dusty truck stops at a roadside gas station. A man in a cap and sunglasses steps out, his movements calm, his presence unassuming. He pays in cash, doesn't speak, gets back into the truck and drives off. The camera lingers on a folded piece of newspaper left behind on the counter. The headline reads, "Damien Cray still missing." Authorities baffled. The man drives toward the mountains, disappearing into the horizon as the desert swallows him whole. Where is Damian Gray now? No one knows. But somewhere out there, the most dangerous man in America is free, and he's not finished.